episode 4 of Crash Test Diva. I'm your host, Christy Eichers. On today's show, I'll introduce a new segment inspired by an overused word in my niece's vocab. You'll meet a new reoccurring guest whose test drive challenge has me sweating, and we have a long-distance serenade from an Aussie band. Let's get started. My niece Josie and I have been talking quite a bit since she is our digital marketing diva. I've noticed something recently. A word she uses a lot. And I think the reason it sticks out to me is that she uses it at the beginning of sentences, and often out of the blue when we are not in the middle of a conversation. We'll just be sitting working and she'll say, "Also, I think we should blah, blah, blah." Or, "Also, we don't need to blah, blah, blah." Or, "Also, I really like that Cocoa Bon wine." I finally called her out on it. "What's with you and also?" She said, "What do you mean?" I told her it cracked me up how she just uses it out of the blue randomly to start a thought, not to add one. She laughed and said, "Well, I have a lot to say." Touché, my little Jedi, touché. Last week, we launched our first 3 episodes, and I really hope you're enjoying them. Let me just tell you, the favorite part of launching this was hearing from you. I've been working away for this behind the scenes, wondering if anybody would listen and if anybody would actually be amused. To finally get feedback and to hear you liked my little hobby podcast, well, my friends, my friend Mary says it best. "Aw, you warmed my cockles." So I've decided to introduce a new segment, which will allow me to share some of this feedback with you. We'll be calling this segment Also, or #Also. Still finalizing the details, and we have to work on the bumper music for it. That may have been how this whole thing started. My niece said, "Also, we need bumpers for everything to transition into each segment." Well, she's right, and we are working on it. It might take some time, but we'll get there. One of my friends, he was a guest in episode 2, my dear friend Mark Howard called after he figured out how to listen to a podcast, and he listened to 1 and 3. Of course, he listened to them after his episode, but no judgment. Anyway, he was giving me quips on each of the segments and guests, and he said, "You and your sister, that test drive on episode 1, it was just like the Schweddy Balls sketch from SNL." He was right. I called my sister, and we laughed so hard I got tears in my eyes. I was dying as we sat there and we recounted me sitting on there sampling the nuts and waxing on about them. As I was writing this, I was laughing out loud. This sketch is a classic, and if you need a good laugh, we're going to link to it in our show notes. Also causing me to laugh was a message from one of my Mankato East High School classmates, Craig Crales. He wrote on Facebook the following: "I just listened to the first one. I feel like someone just poured pure estrogen into my ears." And then a day later, he wrote, "I listened to episode 2 today. I enjoyed it, but I'm going to have to sandwich your podcast between Adam Carolla and a Jacko Willink podcast to keep my testosterone from going to 0. Good job, Ikers." Craig, thanks for listening, and thanks for letting us be part of your podcast sandwich. We're still trying to figure things out. I'll work on balancing our show's hormones. Yeah, no small task. Please keep weighing in and letting us know what you think on social media. We will link to all our accounts in the show notes. It's time for our Taking It for a Test Drive segment, and today we have a new guest to assist. She's a friend I met on what I would call a friendship blind date. Our matchmaker was a mutual friend, Matt Clark, who just insisted we needed to meet. She was 8 months pregnant at the time, and I invited her over for a little iced tea on the porch. It's by far the biggest setup success story of my entire life. As with all the reoccurring guests, there are 3 things I think you should know about Liza. Liza's holy trinity of fierce females includes Ina, Brene, and Nora. And yes, she does have an obsession with these 3 influential gals, which borders on stalker tendencies. I really do think these 3 women are like Oprah, Cher, and Pink in that they only require one name. However, I realize some of you may not be familiar with this holy trinity of fierce women. So in Liza's bio on our website, we'll hyperlink their names to their websites. Number 2, she is a recovering band geek and bleeds maroon and gold for the pride of Minnesota, even though she is born and bred in Wisconsin. Finally, Liza is an earth mama to 3 adorable kids, a sexy mama to her husband Rob, and a trendy mama to all her cabbie customers. Please welcome Liza Atkinson, who is going to share with us an unconventional way to use an antacid, a product you might have in your house. Liza, is this something they would have in their house already?
I mean, maybe. It's possible.
Are you ready for this? Because I honestly don't know, because what I've agreed to is Liza's already done this test drive, and now I'm going to take it on a test drive. So with that, I'm going to let Liza tell us what this is all about.
Okay, so we're going to talk all things natural deodorant. I think between Christy and I, we could probably...
And my sister Annie, I might add.
And Annie. We could probably line up an entire counter full of natural deodorants that we have tried. Why? Why do we care about this? Why do we...
That is the question I'm sure a lot of people are wondering about, because, we can get Secret, we can get all those other products.
Well, there's a lot of research and scuttlebutt out there about aluminum in deodorant. And, no one's come out and said definitively, like, aluminum containing deodorants cause cancer. No one has said that, but there are rumors, there's discussion, is it good for you not to perspire at all? That always makes me a little bit uncomfortable. Like, it's a natural thing for you to sweat. I don't want to be sweaty, don't get me wrong, but you're supposed to sweat. So I'm always a little skeptical about deodorants that make you not sweat at all. And it's something you put on every day. And I fully believe that we sort of take on and ingest everything we put on our skin. That's our biggest organ. So I'm a little bit more mindful as I get older about what I'm putting on my body, and have been on this journey along with Christy and Annie for years. Wouldn't you say we've been doing this for years?
Well, yes. And I want to just interject, is if anybody was listening to episode 2 when Mark Howard was talking about me kind of cringing when he tells me that he puts the bounce dryer sheets underneath his sheets and sleeps on them, I'm a little bit of a freak, because I don't like chemicals. And so he teases me. So I've got people in our lives. I've got my one friends who are like, I'll try other things, alternatives. I don't necessarily want to be surrounded by all those chemicals. And then I've got my other friends who are like all about I don't care, I'm going to die some way. Mark would be in that camp. You would be in the other camp. And so I'm probably somewhere in the middle. People have their preferences, but this is, to your point, a journey I cannot tell you the amount of money I've spent trying to find a deodorant that I don't stink after putting on. So, anyway. Same. So tell me what you've discovered now. For those of the people listening who want to, maybe explore this, we've done all the heavy lifting. Let's see what you now have discovered.
Yeah. So I belong to a lot of crunchy leaning groups on Facebook, meaning like eating more organically and, again, like you were saying, mindful of the chemicals we have in our house and, put on our body. And somehow I stumbled. I don't even know if how sometimes somebody adds you to a group and you don't even realize it. I think that's what happened. And so I'm kind of like occasionally following this thread all about people that are interested in getting more magnesium into our bodies. Because I don't know if you know this, but 80% of Americans are deficient in magnesium, which is a mineral that helps with like fatigue and just tiredness. And there's a whole list of other things that, can happen to you if you're really deficient. But who doesn't want to feel less tired? I mean, raise your hand, right? So one day there's this thread that just kind of piques my interest, and someone says, okay, I didn't believe you guys, but I've tried the magnesium as deodorant and it works. And, the word deodorant, I was like, hold the phone. Let me turn on notifications for this post. And then over the next 24 hours, hundreds of people were commenting on this thread about using milk of magnesium. I don't even know the full name of it. That's how vested I am here. As a deodorant. Now, you might be thinking, hold the phone, milk of magnesia or magnesium is something you take when you have an upset tummy. Yes, this is true. So it is kind of in the Pepto-Bismol category of things. It's a white, chalky liquid that some people do take for an upset tummy. And it contains magnesium. And, so, at this point, I'm like, this sounds a little weird, but whatever, I'll try anything.
So now we're not buying like a natural deodorant. We're going to take a product that has nothing to do with deodorant and we're going to rub it underneath our pits. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Okay, super. I'm with you. And I want to know how this is going to work and not be messy. So talk.
So the thread on, they're recommending, everyone's like, what should I look for? And so several people had screenshotted the kind they've gotten on Amazon, because several milk of magnesia products include other ingredients or whatever, and you really want just the magnesium. So several people had screenshotted this brand, and, so I looked it up on Amazon. I did some Googling, did some, classic Google research, and there are some companies that make a milk of magnesium deodorant, meaning that they boil it down till it gets more like a deodorant consistency, but it's about 4 times the price of just buying a bottle of milk of magnesia. And I can be a little cheap with my, crunchy stuff sometimes, especially since I've spent hundreds. I order it on Amazon Prime, it arrives the next day. And, so the first time I tried it, several people had said to strain it through cheesecloth because that just makes it a little bit thicker and then it's not so liquidy.
Okay, Liza, honest to God, my patience, my time. Are you kidding me?
No. I know. So again, that I tried that, and to be honest, it was more of a mess and a pain in the ass than it was worth. So then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna pour it. It comes with a little medicine cap. I'm just gonna pour it and let it, sit out a little bit. And so the first couple days I use it, you put it on basically like a lotion. It's the consistency of a lotion.
Okay.
So I just dip my fingers into the medicine cup and rub it under my armpits. And then as the air hits it, over course of days, it gets a little bit thicker and a little bit more pastier.
And is that probably a good thing when that happens? It's easier?
Then it's just a little bit easier to apply,
okay.
Right? And then when it's gone too far, when it becomes flaky crusty, then you got to rinse out the cup and start again. And I know it sounds crazy. And Christy, I've been doing this for 4 months, and it works.
Wait, you were doing this in the dead of summer humidity here in Minnesota?
Yes.
And you didn't stink?
I did not.
What about
my husband.
And what about
he would be honest.
big wet stains under the pits? How's that?
No, here's the trick, is that you have to put it on and let it dry before you put on your clothes.
Okay.
Because it can dry a little chalky white. It doesn't stain my clothes. I have gotten some on my clothes and it comes out in the wash, so it's not a stain. But it's just a little bit better if I put it on while I'm walking around with my bra, you know what I mean, and just let it dry a little bit. It works. And sidebar, my job is I'm a wardrobe stylist, and I help women buy and purchase clothes, and I get very up close and personal with women. I help women in their underwear, and, I'm zipping them up and whatever. And so I'm always very conscious and aware of how I smell because we get real close. And I have worn it this entire fall season to every single show that I've had and all my clients, and it's worked great. You still sweat, which I think is normal, but you don't smell.
Okay, but you're not getting pit stains because you're sweating so much?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because I have to be honest, this morning I went and I did Pilates and I put on some natural deodorant before I left, and I got home and I took off my workout shirt and I'm like, it's stinky, going into the laundry. Mm-hmm. And anytime I feel like I can't go somewhere where I'm going to smell, I pull out the Secret because I can rely on the Secret.
Same.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So now you don't pull out the Secret anymore.
I have not pulled out the Secret for 4 months, and I'm telling you, it works. Now, in the hotness of summer, I would reapply a couple times just because I'm sweaty outside with my kids and, whatever. There would be some reapplication, but since it's gotten cooler here in Minnesota, it's a once a day.
Okay. Okay. Tell everybody now, we'll link to the show notes because you're buying this on Amazon and we'll link.
I am.
Okay. We'll link to that in the show notes. How much does something like this cost and how long does it last?
So a bottle's about $3.75 on Amazon.
That's all?
And yes, that's it, right? We're not spending $10 on a natural deodorant. And I've had a bottle. I'm about to run out of it. I probably have a week or two left. And so that has lasted me for 4 months.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm committing right now, and this is really a hard commitment to make because it's right before holiday party season, and I feel like any person who listens to this who sees me is going to be like smelling me up to see what I smell like because I'm going to holiday parties and I'm going to try this. So by the time this thing airs, I'm going to have gone to Amazon, purchased my bottle, and I will be starting to use it. And, you know, perhaps when we have you back to talk about other things, I'll let people know how it's going. But I will, for sure, first week in January, report back in with my my Milk of Magnesium deodorant test drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it sounds bananas crazy, but I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh.
It works.
Well, I'm going to have to tell Annie so she can start doing it too. So,
right.
Yeah. Okay. And I can't wait to throw out all of those other bottles that have failed me miserably.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So Liza, since we have a little extra time, I want to talk. This episode's going to air or get released on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. And there's a product that you and I both love. We've been test driving it. You took it for the first test drive. You had it first. And I just loved it from afar. And I think it's a perfect holiday gift for some people out there because I think a lot of people will want them. And I think they're going to be on sale on Black Friday. Drum roll, please. It's time to talk about the Instapot.
The Instant Pot. Oh, how I love thee. Let me count the ways. You are right. I did buy it first. And we kind of, I don't know, weeks later, you kind of accusatory at me. We're like, what do you mean you got an Instant Pot? How come you haven't told me? And then you borrowed it. Remember, you came over. I was headed out of town.
I did.
And you borrowed it.
I took
summer.
it for a test drive. Literally. Okay. I practice what I preach. I took it for a test drive. You were going to a cabin for a week. And I'm like, can I just borrow it and see if I like it? Oh my God. I fell in love. And I think before you came home, I had already ordered one. Tell people what it does.
I always tell people it's like a pressure cooker and a crock pot had a baby. And it's the Instant Pot. So think of all the things you use a crock pot for, soups and stews and that kind of thing. You can absolutely use it for that. Sometimes I don't have my shit together, and so I take frozen like chicken breasts or meat or whatever in the Instant Pot, add a little bit of stock, and within like 15 to 20 minutes, it's done. And I can shred it and add it to barbecue sauce or whatever.
I have to tell you, there's a recipe out on the internet for the whole frozen chicken in the Instant Pot, and it cooks for like an hour. It's a frozen chicken. Yeah. I did try it, and it's a little freaky, but it does work. So this thing, I think it's amazing.
It is a little... Don't be scared of it. Don't be scared of the pressure cooker aspect of it. There's plenty of people out there who've made videos about, how to check it, make sure you've let all the pressure out, or, don't worry about that. And the person who I like to follow, you and I both like to follow the most for her videos about how to use it is Michelle Tam from Nom Nom Paleo. She's made, loads and loads of videos.
And great recipes for it. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, her recipes are always solid.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I love that thing. Mm-hmm. So 2 things. Let's talk just about price. And there's different sizes. And if you remember this summer, I ordered the gigantic one that could have fed your family of 5, and I'm a single woman. So I sent that one back. It was not necessary.
I remember when you took a photo of the regular size one compared to like the maximum one, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you don't need that, girl."
And folks, I did cook the whole chicken in the smaller one, so I did not need that. That is if you have a big family. I'm a single gal. I needed the little one. So price points, though, I know if you follow Nom Nom Paleo, she really tracks this stuff when it's on sale. But I'm going to give a little tip to our listeners. It goes on sale at Kohl's department store, And oftentimes there's a 30% off coupon from Kohl's. So you can get like the $120 unit that's on sale for $100 for $70. So start watching the Kohl's ads right now to get this thing for $70 for somebody in your life, or just buy it for yourself. And if a person is coming up upon a kitchen remodel, this is an absolute necessity, correct?
Absolutely, for sure.
Did you tell me that you actually made popcorn in it at one point?
I made homemade popcorn.
Really?
Yep.
Well, thank you. I hope this segment of taking it for a test drive has been enlightening. I know I'm a little apprehensive.
You've been enlightened.
I'm so apprehensive. I mean, I'm going to hang up and I'm going to go on to Amazon and order my new milk of magnesium. And then I'll start using it, I promise, on Monday, or as soon as it arrives. I'll do that. And please, people, when you see me over the holidays, please do not
give her a sniff. Give her a good sniff.
And then start checking all your ads for those Instant Pots on sale on Black Friday, my friends. You will want to get one. Thanks a lot, Liza. It was great having you.
So fun. Take care.
Bye-bye. It's time for our long distance serenade. This is the nostalgia portion of the show. It's time to pay tribute to my favorite part of Casey Kasem's American Top 40. The long distance dedication. But instead of sappy love stories, we celebrate funny memories. Those times when you hear a song and you go right back to that moment. This is a part of the show where I'll need input from listeners. If you have a song you want to send some old friends, check the show notes and hit the Contact Us link. We don't play the actual song. Instead, my friend John Collins, who we call the Renaissance Rebel, because he can literally do anything, well, he sings your request. For these first few episodes, I needed to recruit some friends to help. This one comes from a friend, Christy Martin. Christy, tell us about your long-distance serenade.
This is Christy from Minnesota, and I have a long-distance serenade. It was 1986, and the girls were getting ready for a night out, and I put in those Dynasty-level, extra puffy foam shoulder pads in my shirt. And that night, a great-looking guy from New Zealand asked me to dance to a slow song. So the song ends, and he grabs my shoulders to bring it in for a kiss. Then he stops the kiss and starts squeezing my shoulders, asking me if I had pillows in my shirt. I'll never forget the song that played that night, and I would like to send out a long-distance serenade to James Cookie Cook from New Zealand. Can you please play Don't Dream It's Over by Crowded House? Love, Christy.
Christy, here's your long-distance serenade to your Kiwi cookie.
There is freedom within, there is freedom without, trying to catch the deluge in a paper cup. There's a battle ahead, many battles are lost, but you'll never see the end of the road while you're traveling with me. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Hey now, when the world comes in, they come to build a wall between us. You know that they won't win.
It's time for the tip of the day. This portion of the show is like that column, Hints from Heloise. We'll share some tips that will hopefully make your life easier. Just little things that may come in handy. Sometimes you may think these tips are far from helpful. In that case, like the Irish name we've given this segment, Tip of the Day, you may just think our nuggets of wisdom are simply nothing but blarney. In any case, we hope you enjoy. My tip today came out of a bit of a blunder. I know, shocking, right? My mom was hospitalized this summer, and on my way to Rochester for a visit, I stopped into a small town to grab a few things for her. I decided to make it a bit more cheery, so I grabbed a gift bag and some tissue paper. When I pulled into the Mayo parking lot, I stuffed all the items into the gift bag and then opened my tissue. But instead of buying tissue, I had purchased a plastic tablecloth for $1. I shoved it all in there and presented it to her, and we got a good laugh at my goof. But as I helped her unwrap it, I got an idea. You see, my grandma was a product of the Depression, and my mom learned from her not to waste and to try and reuse. And the cycle of saving and reusing has been passed on to me. Well, I love to reuse gift bags, but the tissue, I just think it looks tacky when you reuse it. It's all wrinkly and never has as much poof when you put it in a second time. I noticed that this tablecloth was quite durable. I had an idea. I took the bag and tablecloth home with me that night, and I cut that tablecloth into 4 or 5 sections, and then I put it in the bag. Voila, it worked. It wasn't wrinkled, and it stood up nice and poofy. I could reuse it without it looking terribly tacky. We'll attach a link to our gallery where we have a photo of this tip in action. I used it to wrap my niece Kayla's birthday present this week. Perhaps you'll want to swing over to your local Dollar Tree dollar store to pick up some bags and tablecloths to simplify your holiday wrapping. You're welcome. To end the show, I'm combining segments. I'm going to tell you a story of a ding-dong doozy. Okay, to be honest, I'm sure you've figured out that many of my stories have an element of ding-dong doozy to them. With that, let me tell you a story. On April 13th, 2013, my world changed forever as I lost my dad to cancer. Leading up to it, and for many months, years after, I grieved. I was depressed, trying to keep my business going, and trying to adjust to my new normal. To survive, I read a lot of self-help books. I binge-watched a lot of Netflix. I did a lot of napping. I took some meditation classes. I cried a lot. And I was cooking a lot of comfort foods. Now, in many of the self-help books and articles in O Magazine and Deepak meditations, they talk about the power of breath, how breathing allows you to stay in the moment and calm yourself. My chiropractor, Martha DeSanta, even wrote a book about the benefits of breathing. We'll link to it in the show notes. Anyway, in a yoga class, I think a yoga class with Sarah, she talked about how you can breathe with intention. You could breathe something positive in and then breathe something negative out. So for example, some of my mantras at the time were breathe in trust, breathe out doubt, breathe in faith, breathe out worry, breathe in courage, breathe out fear. You get the idea. Well, I decided I needed these little reminders spread throughout my house. I decided I'd make some Post-it notes and hang them on the mirrors and on the doors. I needed these little affirmations. I needed them to remind me that things were going to get better. Now, sidebar, back in the 80s when aerobic classes were all the rage, I always thought it was funny when the instructors would shout out, "Don't forget to breathe." Like I was really going to forget to breathe. And now here I was hanging Post-it notes throughout my house reminding me to breathe. Now, I didn't want to create just any Post-it notes. They needed to be kind of fancy and have some impact. And my sister, the good gift giver, Annie, that you've met before, she had given me some of these black Post-it notes with a white gel pen. You know, it kind of was like a paint pen. And so I thought I'd use these fancy notes. And I don't have the best penmanship. I mean, it's a stretch. I've been accused of looking like I have second grade penmanship. Anyway, I got out the fancy Post-it notes and the pen, and I sat there and I slowed down and I focused and I started to really try to write with nice penmanship. I'm attaching, for your amusement, a photo of my finished product, my artistic endeavor, in the show notes. We'll link it to the gallery where we've uploaded this photo. Trust me, you are going to want to take a peek at my artistic side. Now, when I finished, I hung them all over my home. And then I had this idea. You see, that year was crappy for many reasons. In addition to losing my dad, I had 5 friends diagnosed with breast cancer. They varied in age from 32 to 82. I had this idea, and I thought I'd make a little stack of their own fancy breathing with intention notes. Now, I'm a gal who has really good intention, thoughtful intention, but I often fail to execute. But since my fancy black notes and white gel pen were out, I just kept writing down these mantras. I got them all put together, addressed them, and sent them with my postman the next day. Weeks and months passed, and I kept my notes up, and I passed them, and yep, they were going to help me get through life, those little reminders. Listen, I was doing anything to try and get through the weeks and months following my dad's death. A few months later, my friend Liza, who you met earlier in this episode, she texted me with some more crap news, again, about cancer. They had just found out her sister's cancer had returned. Now, needless to say, Liza was devastated. And let's be honest, when you get that message, there are simply no words. All I could think to say was, just breathe. I could offer her these words that had been providing a little bit of comfort to me. I tapped away on my phone and wrote the word just, and then I typed BREATH, and I hit send. Then I thought I'd send it one more time to gently remind her she just had to take some deep inhales. I tapped out just, and then I tapped BREATH. A few minutes later, Liza texted back and said, I think you mean breathe, BREATHE. I looked at my screen, and then I ran upstairs to the mirror to look at one of my fancy Post-its with those words of wisdom. And to my horror, I could see that my spelling error was not a typo. Somehow in my mind, for months, I had been spelling breath when I meant breathe. I picked up the phone, I called her, and I said, yeah, you're correct. And then I proceeded to tell her about all the misspelled notes scattered throughout my home and about sending stacks of them to my friends. We had a little laugh, which is probably what she needed. It's become a bit of a running joke between the two of us. When one of us is having a crap day, the other taps out the following, just breath, and hits send. Now there's an epilogue to this story. Not one of the girls I sent the little stack of breath notes to ever, to this day ever, has mentioned that I misspelled the word breathe repeatedly. Not one of those ladies. And guess what? You know who you are. When you listen to this, feel free to pick up your phone and text me. All you have to do is write just breath.
What do you do?
That's it for episode 4. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please share it with your friends and leave us a message on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. We have links to all these social media outlets in the show notes. Who knows, maybe your comment will be used in our new segment also. Thanks, Josie, for inspiring the name and for all your work getting the word out about our podcast. Thanks to Christy Martin for sharing her dynasty moment in the Long Distance Serenade, and to JC the Renaissance Rebel. When I told him he'd be singing Dream On, he said, okay, that is one of the best songs. I hope I don't ruin it. My friend, you certainly did not ruin that song. Don't forget, we need you to submit requests for this segment. Send us an email. The link is in the show notes. Many thanks to Liza Atkinson. Girl, I pray this milk of magnesia deodorant thing, I pray it's going to work. I can't believe I've agreed to test drive this during the holidays. My apologies in advance to anybody who meets me and we find out this little test has failed. And thanks for always being honest with me. Honest enough to tell me I don't know how to spell. Once again, I need to thank Genetic Drift for writing our theme song. Since we launched, I can't tell you how many people have told me they love the song, and so do I. Please check out their Facebook page to learn more about the boys behind the song. We'll link to it in the show notes. Join us in episode 5. My sister Annie will be back to share some of her favorite stocking stuffers for those hard-to-shop-for men on your list. And I'm really going to work hard over Thanksgiving vacation to try and get my mom to share a tale with you. Thanks again for listening. I hope you've been able to escape a little of your own reality and enjoyed the show. Remember, bruises are like life. The harder you get hit, the more colorful and interesting they get.